Greetings, friends. Reformed Stoic here, back with a very innovative and important video for you. I did a preliminary YouTube search about a week ago. I've been thinking about making this video for a while now. I kind of built it up in my head, and it's time to just get it. January 1st, 2025. Cardio maxing. It's not a thing until now, boys, because I am the one coining it. I'm sure maybe it's been mentioned in passing a couple of times out there in the wild, but what's holding its place is gym maxing. And this video overall is for everybody, and I'm going to explain everybody's certain scenarios. Not right now, Wrinkles. Oh my gosh, Wrinkles is throwing a little tantrum. I'm going to explain everybody's different scenarios in relation to this. But I feel like there's a certain kind of category of people that this is a little bit geared towards. People kind of like me who have already been in the gym for years. And I don't like any sort of terms related to the term incel, but when it comes to the gym cell, I can't lie to you, my friends, it's something that kind of resonates with me. Someone who has been going to the gym for a very long time, kind of in hopes of improving yourself to look better to attract women. And my understanding of a gym cell is somebody who has made significant gains. I think this is maybe something that a lot of men who don't consider themselves incels can probably relate to. You've made significant gains in the gym. You already have visible muscles and all of that. Your lifts have shot up over the years, probably hitting a plateau eventually, unless you get on gear. But it's just not happening, and you kind of get in this unhealthy space where you feel like, okay, I need to keep making improvements in the gym to be capable of getting a girl or meeting a girl. When in reality, it's evident with the gym cell that your issue with women is not related to your physique. And I'm not going to say what it is. It's just that that is not what it is. So I've hesitated to make this video because I feel like there's just so many things I can say about it. And ultimately, on some level, I'm trying to explain to you why a cardio-focused gym routine, or fitness routine rather, it could include the gym if you decide to do running on a treadmill, which is what I have been doing lately. Why it's better than a weight-focused routine. Now, I say it's a little bit focused on people who have already been in the gym for years. If you're someone who has never really tried to implement fitness in your life before, I'll go ahead and start with you. It's not a bad idea to get into running. Especially, I feel like if you're not obese, but you're a little bit overweight. You got more mass on your body to work with, to where you're going to build strong legs, strong calves, and just, carrying your own weight around in the world, you're probably not going to be a frail, skinny toothpick when you start making your gains in your runs. You're probably going to look pretty good. Now, I still have a weightlifting routine. What I'm doing is running focused, but when I do lift weights, like today, I do a full body workout. And there's room for little adjustments. I still have some issues with my back training because I'm about to get into physical therapy for whatever this is going on, but I can't really do pull-ups or pull-downs right now. I got to be careful with rows as well. I can't be too jerky or else it kind of does the same thing that pull-ups do. But a quick rundown of my full body routine. I'll tell you what I did today. Deadlifts, squats, then I went and hit the back, chest supported rows. I wanted to do cable rows, but somebody was using that, so I used some sort of like a row machine. Then I went to chest. I did incline dumbbell bench, pretty much everything for 3 sets, by the way, like 7 to 10 rep range. Then I did 3 sets of pec deck. I was feeling the pec deck today. Usually only do 2 sets, but 3 sets of pec deck. Then I did overhead press. Then I do side laterals. A lot of people swear by those for shoulder, like visually even better than the overhead press. And then I did, actually kind of revisited back, because last time I did back in a different place, and I did back extensions, weighted. I got up to like 10 pounds and, was doing like 10, 12 reps with that. Really not that impressive, but I did do deadlifts earlier in the workout. And then I ended with some like hopping around on 1 foot at a time for my calves. So a little bit of everything. Not going too crazy with the weights. Kind of just going through the motions. I'm learning there's a very particular feel to full body training. You just kind of feel your whole body as one. Just kind of touching on every muscle. Getting your full body activated. Maybe this is a little bit of a cope, but yeah, it's like I did a lot more for chest and shoulders than I did for back, partially because I'm dealing with the injury, but they say that you hit the lats a tiny bit, like if you're doing bench press. So I don't know. I feel like, and then they say like if you're doing push-ups. Oh, I forgot. I did a couple sets of explosive off the ground push-ups. I don't know. I don't think back hits chest at all, but I think chest hits back just a little tiny bit. So something to keep in mind on a full body training day. It's probably not unforgivable if you do a little bit more chest and shoulders than back. But I digress. That's the only weightlifting I'm doing. I'm going to be doing full body weightlifting days 2 or 3 times a week. And it's a real thing. It's very overshadowed. Everybody either does the bro split, which I believe is leg day, chest day, shoulders day, arms day, back day. That's the bro split. And then what I was doing for such a long time now, I actually think I'm probably going to make some gains still lifting weights just because I'm mixing it up, is push-pull legs. So, push is going to be your shoulders and your chest, triceps. Pull is going to be your back, biceps, and then legs is going to be legs. So, that's what like everybody recommends. You don't hear many people saying like if you're really a gym bro, muscle bound to do full body training. But just for example, Greg Doucette, I watch his weightlifting channel. Former competitive bodybuilder. He won bodybuilding competitions. He did some feat where I think he like deadlifted 405 for like 40 reps or something insane like that. Like the dude is a beast. Dude is like a pro lifter beast. He's kind of, I guess you could say retired now, but he still looks good in his old age. He has one of the biggest fitness channels on YouTube. He described his weightlifting routine, full body, like 3 times a week, or every other day, something like that, and he just hits every single machine he only does machines. He said every now and then he'll mess around and do squats or something, but he only does machines, full body, every time he's in the gym. You can look up full body training routine. It is a thing to train full body. It's not cope, but it is kind of overshadowed by push-pull legs and the bro split. But lifting weights is kind of lifting weights, and me, I think I feel pretty good about doing the full body, and it's got a very particular feel to it, and I feel as like somebody who's kind of MMA focused, I like the idea of engaging your entire body, and running engages your entire body. So that's enough about weights. It took me kind of a long time to explain just the weightlifting that I'm still going to do. If you want to do what I'm doing, here's what it is. I will post these particular documents. There's a Google Docs file and then a Reddit post. But mainly, and I posted this in my community already, it's about how you build a base as a runner, base training. And it's not really that complex. Off the top of the head, this is how it goes. You're going to start out basically trying to do a 5K every other day. And it's going to be at an easy pace. It's not going to be like time, you know, like what's my best 5K? Maybe every now and then you can give that a shot. But they recommend, because, you know, you've probably heard that runners can get injured. It can beat up your knees. Runners worry about longevity. So I showed you guys my shoes. I'm going to go grab those real quick. Okay. So I just picked these up used. These are the New Balance 1080 version 13s. I've been following a running YouTuber. I guess I can post his channel in the description as well because I can't really remember his name. Young guy, like 23, hot shot. One of these guys who he's broke a 3-hour marathon. I think his time was like 2:50 or something for a marathon. There's guys who do better than that, but he hasn't been running his whole life. He kind of picked it up late. He has a huge shoe collection, but these are kind of like his all-around, one of his all-around go-tos is the New Balance 1080 version 13s. This makes a big difference. These have a big cushion on them, and running is just hard no matter what. But something that I found trying to get like gung-ho about running is like if you spend a little bit of money and get yourself some nice shoes. I got those for $60 used. They're $120 brand new. That will help you push a little bit harder. That will help you get into it, especially if you're somebody who's like just trying to get into fitness, because that can be really hard. Running is brutal, man. I remember when I was in weight training in high school, the teacher was a hard ass, and we were lucky if we got to lift weights. And this local bodybuilder guy who ran the gym in town kind of talked a little bit of smack about this class. It's because, like, I hear you guys are always running and stuff. Like, you guys need to lift weights. It's weight training. But if people were chatting too much and messing around, if he tried to get our attention and we didn't listen, he'd be like, mat room! And everyone's like, oh, shit. Because in the mat room, you're going to do wheelbarrows and sprints and push-ups until like you throw up, or we just randomly go run the mile, or we'd randomly go run a 5K. That's really what kind of helped me get started as a lifter, is that weight training class made me appreciate how much easier it is to lift weights than it is to run. And somebody might be like, oh, like feel triggered by me saying that, but yeah, you can push yourself really hard lifting weights. You're probably going to need somebody to spot you if you really want to push yourself that hard, you know, like failure every time. But I even think no matter how hard you push yourself as a weightlifter, man, like running is just harder. Maybe you could say you're going to get better aesthetic muscle gains. Like maybe you could say it's better to lift weights. Fine, whatever. Running is harder, bro. Like mentally, when you're not into running yet, it will kick your butt. These are my other shoes. I've had these for a long time. These are still kind of my go-to. I haven't tried the running shoes for jumping rope yet. I have a feeling that's not going to be ideal. So these are Skechers Go Run Pure 2. I think these are like $30 or something. I looked up budget running shoes when I was in Vegas. These are really beat up now. But these are still my go-to, like hitting the bag, MMA, jump rope, because they're more padded than like a regular shoe, but they're not quite like giga padded like the New Balances that I have. And when I went on my family reunion, I only brought one pair of shoes. I brought my Pumas, just my regular shoes that I wear around to try to look cool. and I jump roped with them, my knee was like messed up. I was like scared the way my knee felt for like 3 or 4 days after that. It hurt going up and down stairs. It's really important that I jump rope with these and not those. So I got to be mindful of the shoes I wear when I jump rope, and you should definitely be mindful of the shoes that you wear when you run. Anyway, so that's getting started. If you decided you want to go on this journey, definitely pick yourself up some nice running shoes. And the other tip this guy gave is running socks. Off the top of my head, I have Nike Unicorns, and those are the socks that he recommended. So I copped this guy's fit, and I'm using the same shoes. He's using the same running socks, and I'll tell you, man, it will give you a little bit of a mental boost. And the shoes are actually doing more than a placebo. It's going to save your knees. It's going to just help. It's going to help you do better. So you're going to start with like a 5K every other day, and this is for beginners as well. It says on this Google Docs file, if you need to walk, that's okay. However you can get through a 5K, a combination of walking and running. And if you're like a super duper duper beginner, you can maybe do more like 2 miles. And what I would recommend, if you're somebody who like really kind of needs to lose weight, like if you want to just start losing weight to prepare to start doing this, the cardio that I was doing before I started this is like 20 minutes on the elliptical. There's 2 different ellipticals in my gym. One of them, I just turn it on and fire it up, and it's right where I need it to be. It's like 2 elevation and only 1 intensity. Really low intensity. I'm not worried about cranking it up because that was my after lifting cardio. Like a really low intensity. If that's all you're doing, because I'd say hop on an elliptical for like an hour, bro. And you don't need to crank it up too much, but I had it on the bottom settings because I don't want to like lose gains after my lifting. And I do not run and lift on the same days. What I am going to start doing is twice a day, and I'm going to do my MMA training at home, like hit the bag, maybe do some shadow boxing in the living room. It was really nice jump roping at the gym, jumping rope, but I can do that on my porch. So that's going to be like 5 hours. I get out of the gym maybe like, let's say 2, around 6:30 or 7, come home and do a full MMA workout. But it's tricky. Like some people want to be like, oh, I'll just do a run on the treadmill and then lift weights right after. It's not going to be good for your lifting gains. You want to keep those things separate. But yeah, if you just want to like lose some weight for a while, I'd say get a gym membership and get comfortable on the elliptical. And you see guys, like if you want to go check out Luke Foods, that's just one of the random eating channels I watch, probably one of my favorite. He's a cool, quirky guy. He uploaded his weight loss journey, and he would do walks on the treadmill at an incline. He had a pretty epic weight loss experience with that. I don't know if either is like better than the other. I just think that mentally, the elliptical is really easy. I think anybody can do the elliptical. But anyway, not trying to spend too much time talking about that. If you feel like you need to lose a little bit of weight before you get running at all, or I would say do a little bit of both. It's like you can start trying to get through a 5K right away, maybe 2 miles at first. If you have to walk for a little bit, do it. But you could do like 1 or 2 runs a week, and then like the rest of the week, every day, do the elliptical for like 45 minutes to an hour. Maybe crank it up a couple of intensities, but don't worry too much about the intensity. You don't need to mess with that. Like I said, I have it on the bottom setting. And then there's this other elliptical there that like I have to turn it up a little bit to just be as intense as the one that's at its bottom setting. But you don't need to worry too much about the intensity. Just, 2 or 3 clicks up. Like you could have it at the 2 incline, which is the base level, and then maybe like 3 or 4 for the intensity. I do it at 1 after a workout. If you can make it through 45 minutes or an hour of that, that'll help you burn calories. Now, if you want to lose weight, you absolutely have to have some sort of a diet, bro. There's no such thing as eating whatever you want and losing weight, unfortunately. And you know who's the best candidate for that? Giga Chad runners who train for marathons. Those guys kind of eat what they want sometimes. I mean, the guy's eating like rice with lean ground beef and, you know, ground turkey and the kind of stuff that in shape people eat. But yeah, he's not afraid to go eat out. He's not afraid to eat some McDonald's sometimes. These guys burn a lot of calories, bro. The calories I've been burning on my 5Ks is like 400. When I do the interval training, I'll get like 500. It's no joke. You'll start burning big calories. Okay, so let's say you get through that. Let's say you're in shape enough to start at the beginner level. And this is, you know, the people kind of like me who have been gymming for a long time. You'll be able to, like, do this. You'll be able to do a 5K every other day. Maintain that for like 3 weeks. And, you know, if you want, you can do like 5K full body workout, 5K full body workout, something like that. And the cool thing about the full body workouts is they can be intuitive. It's like, hey, I'm going to go a little bit harder on back today, or I'm going to go a little bit harder on legs today. Today, I went a little bit lighter on legs. I kind of looked at the deadlifts and the squats like a warm-up. I didn't push too hard, because tomorrow, depending on how sore my legs are, I might do interval training. And interval training, I actually copped the same runner's workout, except he warms up and cools down with 2 miles. That's not what I do. I warm up with 5 minutes. So 5-minute warm up, 1 minute sprint, 1 minute talking pace, which is like 5.5 on the treadmill. 2 minute sprint, or 2 minute like faster interval. It's not going to be as fast as the 1 minute, and then 2 minute talking pace. 3 minute, 3 minute, 2 minute, 2 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, or no, 1 minute, and then a 3 minute talking pace, because that's an entire set. Then you do the whole thing over. 1 minute, 1 minute, 2 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, 3 minute, 2 minute, 2 minute, 1 minute, 3 minute cooldown, or 5 minute cooldown, because he does a 2 mile cooldown. So maybe that's kind of confusing. I can put that in the description as well. But there's like easier interval training too. I was doing something else before I started doing that. I was doing like 5-minute warm up and then 10 sets of 1 minute sprint, 1 minute talking pace, and then like a 5-minute cool down. And then you can have days where you do 2 minutes, or you can have days where you do 3 minutes. So you don't have to like overthink it, but basically you're doing intervals. So back to the base training. This is a little bit all over the place. The base training is 5K every other day for 3 weeks. Then you're ready to add more running days, and you introduce the long run. And what they said is it's less important to focus on mileage and more on time. Now, you do want to count your miles and know how many miles you're running a week, because the most important thing is that you run more miles a week. And I talked about easy runs. The majority of these runs are going to be easy runs. And for the most part, when you're not doing an easy run, especially if you're kind of like got MMA in mind, like you kind of want to have this geared towards fighting. Here's what you should know about fighting cardio. There's talking pace cardio, and then there's sprinting. Your average runner is kind of doing these runs at a good pace, which is kind of like so in between the sprint and the talking pace that it's not as useful for MMA. So what MMA fighters do when they say they run 5 miles, they're going to run 5 miles at like a talking pace. You know, Ryan Garcia with his daily 5 miles, I mean, his running time is going to be really impressive. So you want your talking pace cardio to be higher level. It's going to get better. The easy runs are going to get shorter as time goes on, because you're going to improve that, which is good for MMA. You know, if my easy 5K pace is about 32 minutes, which it is lately, and then Ryan Garcia's easy 5K pace is like 25 or 20 minutes, well, that's why he's Ryan Garcia and he's a professional boxer. So there's the easy pace cardio, and then there's the sprints, and then there's the interval training. So if you're going to start training for a 5K or a half marathon or a marathon, once you kind of have gotten through your base, which we haven't got through yet, but you're going to have what's called pace days. Like these pro runner guys, they do their 10-mile easy runs, then they do a 10-mile hard run at like a pace. Like, let's try to get my best time. Let's try to get the time I want to do this race in. If you're training for a half marathon, 13-mile easy runs, and then 13-mile, maybe once or twice a week, pace runs. So this is the second stage now. You're going to be running like about 5 to 7 times a week. You could run every day if you want, but me, I'm going to want to keep the weight training in there. So that's probably going to be, once I get there, which is maybe, I'm in kind of a rush because I'm all giddy and I got the fancy shoes and I'm talking about cardio maxing. I'm probably in like 2 weeks from now going to go to this level because I'm already in shape, bro, on some level. I'm doing good. I'm probably going to run 5 days a week, and then those extra 2 days, those are going to be the full body training days. And then, so then one of those days is going to be a long run. Maybe 2 of those days are going to be like intervals, something like that. Like if you're running 5 days a week, then, you know, maybe one of those will be interval training, and then one of those will be a long run, and then that leaves you 3 days of just running a 5K at your easy pace. And so what comes next, over the next couple of weeks, you're just going to start up in the mile time. See, that's why they say focus on the time. Because on your easy run days, you're going to run for 30 minutes. But it's going to get to a point when you get really good where it's like, hey, I'm not easy running a 5K in 30 minutes anymore. I'm easy running a 6K in 30 minutes. I can get through a 6K in 30 minutes. Or it's going to change how much mileage you can run. So just let it go naturally. That's what they recommend. Easy run days, run for 30 minutes. You'll get to a point where you're running more than a 5K in 30 minutes. And then on long run days, you're going to run for about an hour. And that will vary, 5 miles an hour, 6 miles in an hour. So focus more on the time. So that's pretty much the most important things to explain, because really most of this video was supposed to be me explaining why cardio, I think, is better. So I'm going to get into that now. I hesitated to make this video because I knew I had so many ideas about it, and I basically just kind of explained the training so far. Why cardio? Why not weightlifting? Well, when you give a presentation in the communications class, or when you're a communications guy and you're giving a presentation, sometimes it's good to just start with a thought-provoking thought. Thought-provoking thought. Or quote. Your average, pro bodybuilder cannot run a 5K. Just let that sink in for a second. They can't do it. Absolute respect to Rich Piana. Never want to disrespect. I'm using him as an example because he's one of the bodybuilders that I watched because I enjoyed his content. He told a story one time about how he played basketball one day for a little bit and he was winded and it was a big, huge deal for him. These guys who grow themselves unnaturally using steroids and lots of food and lots of hard work and training and dedication, you are arguably working towards being less functional, being less capable. Now, I'm not one of these guys that's so confident that's like, oh yeah, any bodybuilder, I can beat up any bodybuilder. Size matters in a fight. A big 275 plus guy who's jacked. All I can say is if you're a really bad dude, you're a pro MMA fighter, what you're going to want to do against these guys is be like, hey man, let's take it outside. You don't want to fight them in a small room. The last place you want to be with a bodybuilder is a prison cell, because that guy will bench press you up against a wall, and once he gets his hands on you, he can crush you. He can straight up crush you. So you want to move around. You want to be in a soccer field or a parking lot. Then you can start using your movement, and then it's going to be okay, this guy can't even really touch me. But I'm not a pro fighter. I'm just saying. So yeah, we don't need to hone in on how hard is it to beat up a bodybuilder. But now So that's if like they're way bigger than you. Size matters in a fight. If you have like a 205-pound kickboxer versus a bodybuilder, that bodybuilder might be leaving in a freaking body bag. Like when they're the same size, like if somebody's a heavyweight kickboxer versus a big bodybuilder dude, it's just not even a discussion, bro, in a fight. It's not even a discussion. Not everybody wants to be a fighter. It's not all about fighting. Maybe you want to cardio max and not worry about MMA or fighting. But another thing I wanted to tell people is that what boxing coaches recommend, it's like, are you thinking about joining a boxing gym? Okay, don't even worry about shadow boxing or hitting the bag. I don't want you to develop bad form. Just start running. Just start running 5Ks. You need to be able to get through a 5K without stopping. And yes, it's better. Like it's better to run a 25-minute 5K than it is for a 30-minute 5K. It's better to run a 20-minute 5K. It's just better to run a faster 5K in fighting. It makes a difference. It means you can put up a higher pace. It means you're in better shape. Running is no joke. Now another thing, being lean. One of the things that has stuck with me through my whole life is when I took that weight training class, there was this like jacked military dude. You know, he was still in high school, but he was already like doing stuff with the military, and he was going to go off to the military. I don't remember all the details or whatever, but he was a military guy. And when he said how much he weighed, he said 145 pounds. And I was like, I thought this guy was like 170 or 180 pounds. And so when you're really, really lean, you look bigger than you are. Which the reverse of that is I was insecure about being a small guy. Now another memory there is that I was 135 pounds. And I remember this female teacher, when she saw me squatting, she was like, well, you look like you're about 165 pounds. She thought I was 165 when I was 135. That is the power of being lean. Your muscles look good. And what I've kind of been dealing with for a long time now is like, oh, I'm 180 pounds. Like, because I was a little 135er. I was like from 20 to 25 or like 20 to 23, something like that. I couldn't get above 145. Then I got to 150. There was a time when I could do 20 pull-ups at 150 pounds. Then I did the Pop-Tart diet, and I finally got up to 175. I've been kind of like hung up on being heavier. I've always had this thing in my mind where I just wanted to be heavier because I was so small for such a long time. And it's silly, and I think it's held me back. And me running, me like getting this running base going is really bringing me down to earth. My 5K time is not terrible, but it's like if you really want to walk around like you're learning how to box and whatnot, you need to freaking be able to run. And you need to be lean. And it's just kind of this weird illusion where you can just kind of get stuck thinking like, oh, well, I'm so much bigger now. Like, gosh, I wonder like how lean I am at 180. And it's kind of an illusion, man. And the thing that I wanted to say about weights is this is really controversial. Like, this is like conspiracy theory territory. But I have lifted weights for a long time. And now different people have different genetics. Some people have really gifted genetics, which, by the way, oftentimes will lead you to take roids and get into bodybuilding. These bodybuilders that are famous, this is somebody who had top-tier genetics where they made a lot of gains naturally, and they also took roids, and they also like have this extraordinary lifting program that they adhere to. Some people are very genetically gifted, and you will find that like you can make some pretty solid gains before you probably eventually hit a plateau. Now, is it impossible to work past plateaus? Not necessarily, but what I'm getting at here, guys, is that I, got about as strong as I got when I was in high school. Like, I took this hardcore weight training program. Me and my dad lifted weights together sometimes, and I got to where I could bench press like 185 pounds. through my 20s, I got a little bit stronger. I got to where I could bench about 200 or 205 pounds. I was stuck there for a very, 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 very long time. And then, you know, life happened and I got more into other kinds of training, yada, yada, yada. Right now, probably bench about 200 pounds. But I did get sick for a week and a half and now I'm doing the running. So now it's probably back to where it's more like 185. Like, and I'm not the end all be all of like being amazing at lifting, but a lot of people who have lifted for a very long time will probably tell you, I got to my ceiling and then I just didn't really get much stronger. I used to take over-the-counter test boosters. I have to kind of keep that in mind. Strongest I ever was, when I'm talking about the glory days, I was taking test boosters that I'm not right now. I'm actually taking terkestrone right now. I don't even really think it's doing anything. But, and creatine's good. I think runners should take creatine too. I think everybody should take creatine. Learn how to do the loading phase and all of that. But your genetics just kind of get you to hit a ceiling. And if you're like really, 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 really into lifting and it's like the world to you, it's like, how do I get to this 300-pound bench? How do I get to this 4-plate squat? Roids are probably going to start popping up in the discussion, bro. You only get so strong for your genetics. And so many people don't want to hear this. And so many people are like, cope, dude, cope. But I don't know if people can really understand how serious of a lifter I was. I was serious. I was pretty strong for my size. And then there's the fact that you might get injuries, you know? And then injuries set you back. And I just think for how everybody is like, yo, lift, that's going to solve all your problems. And I have been telling people lately, it's like, there's some truth to that. Like, fitness will change your life to where it potentially could be the thing that sets you apart and changes your success with women. But I'm just starting to think getting lean, getting runner's highs, starting to care about shoes. This is the first time in my life I've cared about shoes. Like, man, I got a few different pairs of shoes. And they function. Like, running shoes are not just for looks. It's like, hey, this is like helping me run better. You're starting to wear runner gear. You're starting to get these runner shirts. At some point, I'm going to try to get these Lululemon half tights for when I'm running outside in the summer. And then as far as like running outside versus running on a treadmill, just make sure that treadmill is at the gym usually has the fancy adjustable treadmills. You want to set it to 1 incline. That makes it a little bit more like being outside. And this is another thing that could be debated. It's like, oh, dude, running on treadmills, nothing like running outside. A lot of pro runners are like, it's harder to run on a treadmill because I hate it because it's boring. Outside is pretty. But then it's actually like a treadmill's a little bit easier on your joints because outside has more harsh terrain. I will be running outside. It's winter right now. There's nothing wrong with running on a treadmill. People train for marathons on treadmills. I've also been in some threads where people talk about how they train for marathons on elliptical machines. So cardio is cardio, and maybe you'll just like fall in love with the bike or cycling or an elliptical machine or just different kinds of cardio. Cardio is cardio, but I think that running is the king of cardio, especially if you're talking about getting into MMA. But just selling you this like runner maxing, why is it better than lifting? Mainly because your goal immediately becomes to get lean. And yeah, like lifters can also become lean through diet and cardio. And maybe it's just like adding a little bit more cardio than you were doing before. And by the way, you can still be doing the 5Ks every other day and do push-pull legs or the bro split. That's fine. You don't have to do the full body training. But I'm just thinking getting lean, wearing runner gear, watching like your freaking 5K time just get cut down so far. People are like, oh, dude, well, when you start running, you know, your bench press is going to go down. But when all you do is lift weights, what's your 5K time? You know, look at all these just random lifters in the gym and be like, hey, man, what's your 5K time? And I got to tell you, bro, there's really talented runners in my hometown. I ran with some like beasts when I was living in Kodiak. My pastor was military, and you know, this kid from high school was a freaking cross country stud. And I have really high expectations for running because of that. People are impressed with how I'm doing. Like, people in the gym seem to think I'm a beast on the treadmill because I'm getting through, like, you know, 32-minute 5Ks, and I'm doing these intervals and whatnot. And in the gym atmosphere, depending on what gym you go to and who works out there, you'd be surprised, man. And I swear, gym selling is a thing. We are living in the era of the gym sell. It's time for a change. There's all these guys at the gym. They're not happy with themselves. Some of them are jacked. There's something about lifting weights where it's never good enough. There's always a guy out there who just waltzes in the gym and does his 405-pound deadlifts for sets of 20 and benches 3 or 4 plates and squats 5 plates. And those guys just make you feel insignificant, where it's like anybody can run and anybody can get better at running. And I feel like I'm a little bit lucky to understand boyish good looks. Take notes, boyos. This is a long video. I'm just posting this. Maybe nobody cares. I'm just posting this. I said I was going to make this video. This is why I didn't make it for a week, because I knew it would be like this. Boyish good looks, boyo. Okay? Think pop punk bands. Think like a skinny guy, and then yeah, the black pill sometimes is like, oh yeah, like a tall, slender guy who doesn't even work out and looks like he could be a model. Not necessarily. I think I have boyish good looks sometimes because I'm jump roping and I'm shadow boxing, I'm hitting the bag, and now I'm running. Slender. Girls like lean guys. Girls like abs. Girls like six-pack abs. In fact, that's low-key like the most important thing to women. I was looking at these Kenyan models. I was talking to y'all like, man, I want to go to Kenya. These girls are fine. The guy that they got modeling, he's not incredibly tall, and he's just lean. He's not even like scary lean. He's just, you can see his abs, you can see his cuts. He's got not jacked arms, he's got kind of skinny arms. There's something that just looks like you're just chill. There's something that just makes you look like you're just chill when you're lean. And there's actually something that kind of makes you look like an uptight douchebag when you got freaking huge arms. I think if you're 5'7" or 5'6" or just short, I actually am starting to think it might show more confidence and big dick energy to just be lean. And yeah, your arms can be kind of big. And yeah, I tend to think maybe shorter guys should be a little bit more gully. I always kind of talk about Rick Story. He's retired now, but you know, he was like 5'7", 170, like thick, like a thick, short guy. The way I see it, boys, and I don't want to make anybody insecure by saying this, I told this to myself. Men should not weigh less than 150 pounds. So, but now keep in mind, there's this OnlyFans lady porno that I saw. This girl, in my mind, is one of the baddest girls out there. The guy that was banging her, he's probably like 5'9", 5'10", 145 pounds. Shredded. Shredded. Some girls like that, bro. And I just think that this gym cell mindset is like showing that it's time for something new, and it's time to start dissecting what's wrong. Like, what's going wrong with the gym cell mindset? It doesn't matter how much you squat. It doesn't matter how much you can deadlift. It doesn't matter how much you can bench. It's how you look, bro. It doesn't matter how many inches your arms are. And yeah, I mean, with a healthy mindset, there's nothing wrong with wanting bigger arms. There's nothing wrong with wanting to improve your lifts. But women don't care about exactly how much you can lift. And yeah, sometimes there's some toxic women in gym culture who are like, oh, imagine if you're a guy and you can't squat 4 plates. I only talk to guys who can squat 4 plates. And I don't see that very often. And I don't want to start judging people, but I actually think more often than not, women kind of like the lean guys. And the women who like need a big jacked roid head, I don't know. Maybe something went wrong. Maybe something went wrong. But there's nothing wrong with that. But again, your average legendary bodybuilder, he can't run a 5K. It's dangerous for him to run a 5K. Like, Rich Piana, like, had to, like, think about his freaking life when he played basketball for a little bit. That's not what happens when you just lift weights regularly. But, it's like choose your character, dude. You know, there's all kinds of different ways to do it. If you love lifting weights, lift weights. But me doing the MMA thing, it's like cardio maxing is the way forward, bro. And my confidence is shooting up. And what I wanted to say about the gym cell thing is there's a lot of these guys kind of stuck in this fog in the gym. And you're looking at the girls in the gym when you're on the treadmill. And they kind of look at these guys like, yeah, that guy's insecure, that guy's too scared to talk to me. And then they look at the treadmills. And then they see Chatty Jr. running a 30-minute 5K with a big smile on his face. It's easy to be the man when you're on the treadmill in the gym. And people who do run outside, it's not a bad idea to do a treadmill run every now and then because you can really look at your paces and you can really see your progress and all that. But runner guys, get the smart watches. I'm going to be getting myself one of those. Probably not an Apple Watch because I don't want the government to monitor my heart rate. Get some sort of a fancy smart watch that isn't Apple so I could, you know, then you can watch your paces and then you can do interval training more efficiently when you're running outside and whatnot. But that's pretty much it, guys. We're almost to 50 minutes here. I think the plan was to explain why I think cardio is better, but there's not really a better when it comes to fitness. Like, if you're somebody who needs to get in shape and wants to get in shape this year, there's not really any rules. The kind of different categories I wanted to address is, like, if you're really skinny, if your problem is that you are a twig stick figure, regardless if you're tall or short, you might want to do the weightlifting a little bit more. Now, you can do both, you know. What you tell yourself is like, okay, Chatty Runner runs sub 20-minute 5Ks. I want to bulk up. I want to kind of counteract the fact that I'm a little bit skinny. I need to eat more, do these lifts for hypertrophy. But you pick a time for your 5K where it's like, I just want to make sure that I never fall below a 25-minute 5K or a 30-minute 5K. Like, I want to do these runs 2 or 3 times a week and just make sure I'm able to maintain that while I put on size, while I put on muscle. Bulking and cutting is definitely a real thing, but it's almost like if you're not really dialed in, you're not counting all your calories, and you don't know what you're doing. Some people just never experience being lean. Some people are just never lean. You're like, oh yeah, I'm bulking, and yeah, I've been bulking for 10 years, bro. Like, you haven't dipped below 15% body fat in 10 years. I was 11% body fat. I remember because I checked my body fat when I was like 21 or 22, and some guy on Facebook got triggered and said that I looked like a vampire. And it was a big controversial thing. But the leanest I ever was when I checked my body fat was I got down to 11% body fat. That's pretty good. That's when I was doing like 20 pull-ups. I think I was on the test boosters, but... And, you know, you don't need to go too crazy with it. And I don't really remember being, like, quite as shredded as I would have liked to have been. But I'd say, like, 8 to 10% body fat, you don't need to get any lower than that. You don't need to get any leaner than that. And for anybody out there who's not even close to being in shape, I'm trying to keep it positive. This is positive for everybody. I just think that gym maxing, gymcels, guys who are kind of like, your problem is that you're shy. Your problem is that you lack confidence. Your problem is that you were traumatized. And I'm not judging you. Like, I lived this, bro. I lived this, and it's like, bro, you don't need to squat more. You don't need bigger arms. You don't need to do more pull-ups. You need to go talk to a freaking girl. You need to go outside and touch grass. And you're stuck and you're not doing that, and you pretend that it has something to do with lifting weights. And the thing about running is like, oh, a girl won't talk to me because I need to shave 5 minutes off my 5K. That just doesn't seem to be a thing. And I feel like running could possibly just, you're feeling good. You're feeling good about yourself. You're watching yourself do things that you didn't think you can do. It's more universal, you know? Nobody's going to come in and like run 5 plates and you can only run 1 plate. And it's like, I just think it shows more confidence. It shows more big dick energy. You'll literally have bigger dick energy when you're doing sprints and you're leaner and you're running. That's good, bro. Chatty is also a runner, and I think people forgot. Lean, dude, bro, not skinny. If you're skinny, you might need to bulk up a little bit. But that's not really me. I'm thinking, you know, I'm still like 173 pounds or whatever on an empty stomach, naked. And I'm thinking I'll be looking pretty good when I'm like 160. And I think 155 is like, that's probably where I want to lift it up a little bit more. I think that's about where I need to be. And it's toxic to be like, oh, I'm too small if I'm 155. I think as a man, especially if you're under 5'10", if you're not like a tanky guy, because some guys are built different, dude. I knew guys who were like 275, 5'7". Like, that's how you're built. In my mind, if you're over 150 pounds as a man, you're good. But don't worry about it, because some guys are like shredded at 145, and girls dig it, bro. Stop this black pill shit and get running. It's time. 225 is the year of cardio maxing. I'm going to be decked out with my Lululemon and my freaking New Balance shoes, and I got nice socks, and I'm actually starting to care about my clothes. I'm going to start wearing like runner gear in public, and I feel like I could make more videos about this, because this is just taking so much time to get all this information out. But getting lean, watching yourself get better at running, where it's like, just to be real, guys, you know, a weightlifter who can't even finish a 5K without walking, which means your time is shit, versus a guy who's maybe a little bit smaller, a little bit less strong, or even sometimes significantly less strong, and he can run a 25-minute 5K, those guys, maybe even if they don't strike, just two guys who don't know how to fight, like that guy who's in better shape can put fucking hands on somebody. And you know how I know? Because I got beat up by a little Mexican guy when I was 19 in boxing. He kicked the shit out of me, dude. I couldn't hit him. We had weight training class together, and I was way stronger than him, but I was huffing and puffing on the 5Ks, and he was feeling good, loving life. It's not all about fighting. It's not all about being tough. It's about running maxing. It's about cardio maxing. It's about getting shredded. Dude, how much can you bench press? He still benches in 2020. He still cares about his bench in 2025. Dude, I ran a 20-minute 5K. And I used to throw up after, like, running a 40-minute 5K. And I'm not there yet. But that's the thing, dude. This is me, like, in the beginning stages. I will revisit this as I make progress. Let's say, like, 2 months from now. I'll let you guys know how it's going. And this is the change that I need. Maybe it's not the change that you need. For somebody who needs to just get in shape in general, I would say you should do both, running and lifting, and it's up to you. I think if you're a skinny guy who's not strong and you're also skinny, those are the guys who should really try to eat more and lift weights. If you're maybe kind of like a fat guy, but you got some weight on you, you're like 200 pounds or 220, it's like, bro, if you just run, you're going to have big, strong legs, you're going to have big, strong calves, and if you just, like, didn't lift weights and you just run until, like, you're lean, you're going to look good. You're going to have muscle. That was a really hard video to make, just because it's really long and I don't know if anybody cares, so. 2025, baby! Woo! Let's go. God bless.